Hey, it's Dr. Joe from Atlanta. Welcome to Your Wellness for Life, January 3rd, the third day of 2021. I hope you had a great Sunday and ready for Monday. Got the first new week in the new year. How about that? So many of you probably have New Year's resolutions. You always have to talk about New Year's resolutions at some point. And just to let you know, this is Facebook Live consecutive number 52. I started this on November 20th. Anybody that's interested in looking at some of the others, just go to YouTube. They're all cataloged there under 2YourWellness4Life. You can also find them under 2YourWellness. So welcome to Your Wellness. I'm Dr. Joe from Atlanta. All right. So today's topic is... What happened here? Ta-da. Technical difficulties. That's okay. I'm new at this. Is the 2 syndrome blowing your New Year's resolutions? What is the 2 syndrome? Well, I'm a surgeon, and back in 1991, I started a pelvic surgery fellowship at Emory University. And my fellowship director, Dr. Wheelis, sat me down first day on the job, and he said, "Hey, Dr. Joe, I'm going to make you a better doctor." I said, "Sounds great, Dr. Wheelis. I'm going to make you a better surgeon." And I said, "That sounds great." And he said, "I'm not going to let you fall into the 2 syndrome." And I said, "That's great. But what is the 2 syndrome?" He said, "Well, we're going to be operating on a lot of cancer patients, and I don't want you to make excuses not to operate on people that needed to have surgery." And I said, "Good. What is the 2 syndrome?" He said, "Well, I don't want you to make excuses." And he rattled off a big long list, and I wrote down a few of them that came to my mind. He said, "I don't want you to not operate on someone because they're too old, or too sick, or too fat, or too short, or they're on too many medications. Don't make excuses. When someone needs an operation, we're gonna fix whatever the problem is." I said, "Yes, sir." Anyway, so let's apply the 2 syndrome to New Year's resolutions and why we blow most of them. Something like 55% of New Year's resolutions are health related, 20% are money related, getting out of debt mostly, and 90% fail after 6 weeks. And, if you Google the most common New Year's resolutions, you'll get a list of things like exercise more, lose weight, get organized, learn a new skill, learn a new hobby, live life to the fullest, save more money, spend less money, quit smoking, and spend more time with family and friends. That's a nice list. And unfortunately, within about 6 weeks, most of it's out the window. I've been walking every morning, and I didn't see anyone out this morning. And I saw several out on the first, and you can already see by the third day, probably 10-20% is already out the window. So I actually have a really interesting list of 50 New Year's resolution ideas and how to achieve them. We're not going to cover that tonight, but tomorrow I'd like to cover one of them, and you'll have to come back tomorrow. I have one of these 50 that I think might be the most important one that has nothing to do with health, has nothing to do with money. And if you want that list before tomorrow, just send me a message, send me a comment. I'll send that to you in advance. Then I'll let you guess which one that is, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But tonight, I'm going to give you 10 reasons why New Year's resolutions get blown because of the 2 syndrome, the 2 syndrome. And it's just a list of lots of excuses. So the first one is, your resolution is just too lofty. And let's say you want to run a marathon, but you're not a runner. Don't schedule the marathon for March. You ain't going to be ready. You're going to get injured. So that's too lofty of a resolution. Make it realistic, put it further into the year, train properly, because once you get injured, you can't train anymore. You won't be running that marathon. Number 2, your resolution is too overwhelming. So let's say you want to reduce $10,000 worth of debt and you want to do it by June. Well, That's maybe an overwhelming goal, and you may want to downscale that a little bit and break that down into little pieces. If you really want to get out of debt $10,000 by the June, you need to figure out how much you're going to reduce your debt every month, and you may realize, man, that's too overwhelming. I need to modify that, make it more realistic. Number three, you just quit too easily. Too easily quit. And, you know, plans are great. It doesn't matter what plan you're on. People say, well, I'm on this diet, I'm on this nutritional plan, I'm on this exercise plan. I do paleo, I do keto, I do this, I do that. It really doesn't matter what you do. If you keep switching, which is really the shiny object syndrome, that's another syndrome. Shiny object. You keep switching from one to the next one, you never finish one. You're not going to get to your goal. So stop quitting by making switches too often. Number four, your goal is way too vague. Way too vague. I want to lose weight. Well, that's great. How much weight by when? I need to lose 30 pounds. Probably a pound of fat a week is a realistic goal. So that's 30 weeks. That's not by the end of January, okay? So make sure that you make your goals specific. Break it down into little pieces that you can swallow. The joke, how do you eat an elephant? You eat them one bite at a time. So you need to have smaller little increments to get into your final goal. Number five, your goal is just too financially burdened. Let's say you want to take up horseback riding. You want to buy a horse. Man, horses can be expensive. They're expensive. They eat, and you need to store them somewhere. You may have to board them somewhere. That's expensive. That may be a hobby that you may want to think through very carefully. You want to make sure that you are financially able to handle that. It goes for several other things. Number six, you're going too alone. Again, maybe you need an accountability partner. It's called a buddy, the buddy system. Find a buddy. So whether your goal is to lose weight or to exercise more or learn to cook or whatever it is, find someone to partner up with. It's going to be so much more fun and you're more likely to reach that goal. Number seven, it takes too much time. Now, maybe it really does take too much time, or you're one of those people, the flip side is that you make excuses and you don't have enough time. So whatever that is, there's only 24 hours in the day, and you can probably be more productive than you think. But if that activity, it really takes up too much of your time, you may want to, again, put it in a perspective and make more realistic goals. Number eight, you are too dishonest with yourself. If you don't like running, you've never liked running, do you think you're going to stick to a running program? Or if you just don't like walking on a treadmill and you'd rather run outside, do you think that going to the gym and forcing yourself to be on a treadmill, that you're going to stick with that? Probably not. You may want to stick outside, go walking and running outside, and then just dress appropriately for the weather. There's no such thing as bad weather. There's just bad clothing or bad shoes. All right, number nine, you are too easily tricked. You are too easily tricked into some kind of a gadget or some kind of a something that really you think is going to be the thing that's going to get you to your goal, like a Fitbit. Well, if you don't use that gadget, it's not going to get you to your goal. So don't get easily tricked into some kind of gadget, especially if it's an expensive gadget or some expensive gym membership, and you don't think it's going to get to your goal. You may want to back off that and stick with what you have and try to get to your goal that way. And number 10, don't be too hard on yourself. If you stumble and fall, it's not failing that's the problem. It's not getting back up. That's the problem. So those are the 10 2 syndromes that derail New Year's resolutions. Let me run through them real quickly. Your resolution is too lofty, it's too overwhelming, you quit too easily, the goal is too vague, you're too financially burdened, you're going it too alone, it takes too much time, you're too dishonest with yourself, you're too easily tricked into gadgets, and you are too hard on yourself. So, 10 two syndromes why you blow your New Year's resolutions. And tomorrow we're going to talk about one of 50 that I think are probably the most important ones. Tomorrow, 50 New Year's resolutions, ideas, and how to achieve them. We'll talk about one of them. It has nothing to do with health, has nothing to do with money. And if any of this resonates with you, send me a message, send me a comment, and I'll send you my resources. Have a blessed Sunday evening. We'll catch you tomorrow, Monday. Bye.